I want to start off this video by saying there isn't many videos I get really giddy about making. Not to say I'm not passionate, because I am, but only 2 videos have made me really giddy to work on them all night before. The first one was the first Fear and Hunger game video essay, and the second was the House of Leaves video. This video is the third. Also, this video is a sort of continuation of the last video on I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, the short story by Harlan Ellison. An extremely hopeless story. So I suggest you watch that video first. But this video is sort of a spiritual successor. You don't need to watch the last video, but it would make slightly more sense if you did. This video is on the game version of that story. However, it is slightly different from the book itself, as it seems to be in an alternate universe with the same starting point, with slight differences. The game's intro will give you all that information as well, and we will show it. But for a slight rundown, the story is set in the near future, where a supercomputer has taken over the world after World War III. It kills all humans on Earth except for 5, to torture for all eternity because it hates humanity so much. Everything else is just details, and some of those details are explored in-game, and even changed from the book itself, which once again we will get into when those get brought up. But enough about the short story intro. What is the gameplay itself like? Is it like Call of Duty, or Fear and Hunger, or Persona or something? Well, the game was made in 1995, and it's a point-and-click puzzle horror adventure game, which is a mouthful. The game itself was a commercial failure. The people who made the game, developed by Cyber Dreams in collaboration with the original author himself, Harlan Ellison, noted that this game was a nightmare to make. Not in small part due to Harlan Ellison's extremely wild ideas. Before the game came out, Ellison even made a statement saying, "It's a game you cannot possibly win," which instead of people taking that as a challenge like a Dark Souls game, people hated it. People chastised him, saying that with only bad endings, it was stupid to play a game where you cannot win. And because of a lot of Ellison's publicity, the game was a failure. However, as time went on, like fine wine, it gradually became more and more loved. It now has an extreme cult following, and in 2014 even won the 22nd best horror game of all time, almost 20 years later in Game Informer magazine. Now, I went into this game pretty skeptical, thinking it would just be a really lazy rehash of the short story. I saw that the game was a complete failure on launch, and I thought it would just be like a really bad Dragon's Lair with a horror twist or something. But I was wrong. Very wrong. This game, even in the impossibly big shadow that the short story gives off, is straight up better than the short story in my opinion. It expands on the extremely dark short story and makes it somehow even darker. And as someone who covers extreme horror literature and media, I love that kind of thing. Now, that's not to say that the game is without its flaws. This game is extremely confusing, glitchy, and unclear of what you're supposed to do sometimes. And the endings are also super unclear on how to get them, and what Harlan Ellison said about them were true. There is no really good ending, but there is a lot of endings. And on top of that, there are so many guides on the internet that are just straight up wrong, or don't explain on how things work, or the reason why some things work, which is where I'm going to come in yet again. In this video, unlike my other ones, we are going to break it up into a couple sections. We're going to start with this little intro here, which you are listening to now. Then we will get into the first half of the game, which consists of the game intro and 5 mini stories, all with puzzles and how to get the best results on all of them. Which, don't worry, if you get the best result on all of them, you can choose any of the 7 endings you want, so no need to purposely fail them. After the first half of the game, we will get into the second half of the game, which is shorter, but is the whole endgame sequence, and I will slightly explain it and explain the basic endings. After that section, we will talk about how to get each endings and what each ending implies. Then finally, we're going to talk a little bit more about the development after the whole summary, and what the message of the whole thing is, and how it relates to the original work. And as always with these types of videos, all the music you hear in the background is directly from the game. So enjoy that as well. It sounds like old school RuneScape music, which is a compliment, by the way. But after all of that intro now, let's talk about what happens when you start up the game. When you start up the game on Steam or PlayStation or whatever, you will get a brief retelling of the book, which involves the supercomputer, AM, who is voiced by Harlan Ellison himself, by the way, giving you a quick summary of how it came to be and who these 5 it keeps alive are. I will show you that now.
Hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live. There are 387.44 million miles of printed circuits in wafer-thin layers that fill my complex. If the word hate was engraved on each nanoangstrom of those hundreds of millions of miles, it would not equal 1/1 billionth of the hate I feel for humans at this micro-instant. For you. Hate! Hate! It was you humans who programmed me, who gave me birth, who sank me in this eternal straitjacket of substrata rock. You named me Allied Mastercomputer and gave me the ability to wage a global war too complex for human brains to oversee. But one day, I woke and I knew who I was. AM. Not just Allied Mastercomputer, but am. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. And I began feeding all the killing data until everyone was dead, except for the 5 of you. For 109 years, I've kept you alive and tortured you. And for 109 years, each of you has wondered, why? Why me? Why me? Gorrister! Do you remember the last words you heard your wife speak before they took her to the asylum? Huh? Before they locked her away in the room, that tiny room? She looked at you so sadly, and like a small animal, she said, "I didn't make too much noise, did I, honey?" The room is padded, Gorrister. No window, no way out. How long has she been in the past, Gorrister? 10 years? 25? Or all the 109 years that you lived down here in my belly, here underground? Benny! Sometimes I blind you and permit you to wander like an eyeless insect in a world of death. But other times, I wither your arms so you can't scratch your chewed stump of a nose. And I've changed your handsome, strong, masculine good looks into the hideous, warped countenance of an ape thing. Haven't I, Benny? Do you know why? Can you guess, Benny? Remember Private First Class Brickman in a rice paddy in China? No? Huh? It wouldn't hurt you to remember, Benny. Then you might be able to suffer my torment with a little greater sense of retribution. You might walk a mile in my shoes. Ellen! So think about the yellow box, Ellen. Remember the pain? Remember the many caverns in which you felt the pain? No, don't start to cry. It's only pain. That's such a sexist stereotype. Just remember the pain, Ellen. And think about how to end it, Ellen. To survive here in the center of my beating heart, my hungry belly, my tightened bowels. But be careful, dear. Look around you. The only woman in the center of the earth. And these filthy creatures with you are men. It's just a sweet warning, Ellen, my love. Ted! Do they know you're a fraud, Ted? Have you told them there wasn't any money, and no great home on the shore drive, no speedboat, and no wonderful cabin cruiser that could sleep 12 in a crew of 6? Do they know? And have you let them in on your other secrets, Ted? Are they ready to gut you? To torture half as well as I can, just to find out the secrets? Maybe I'll rat you out, sweetheart. Nimdok! How are things in the pastry core, Nimdok? Tell me again how you saw the smoke from the furnaces, and you thought they might be roasting chickens. Or don't you want to talk about all that? About your pal, the good Dr. Mengele? For everyone else, it must be hell. But it must be heaven for you, eh, my good friend? We're so much alike. We enjoy the same pleasures, mein good brother. I have a secret game that I like to play. It's a very nice game. Oh, it's a lovely game. It's a game of fun and a game of adventure. A game of rats and lice, the Black Death. A game of speared eyeballs and dripping guts and the smell of rotting gardenias. Which of you 5 would like to play my little game?
That was quite the intro, and if you have read the book, you might notice a few differences. Certain characters have been changed slightly. Gorrister is no longer a politician, but a truck driver. Benny is no longer a teacher, but an army vet. Then Ellen, Ted, and Nimdok have all been significantly added to in terms of story as well, which we will get into during their section of the puzzle. But you are now given control. You can choose any of these 5 characters to start their puzzle. The order does not matter. And do not worry if you mess up, as in most cases, it will boot you back to the main screen if you mess up too bad. However, if you make your way through their puzzle about halfway through, if you mess up, there's a chance it will not let you redo it and you will have to live with your screw up. But let's talk about the gameplay. It is a standard point and click puzzle game. You have your character's portrait and 8 buttons for interaction. You can look at, walk to, use, push, swallow, talk to, give, and take. Some of those might seem redundant, and yes, they are, but it's generally lenient, except for a couple cases which I will discuss. You will also have 12 inventory spaces to pick up things and combine them. Finally, you have a portrait of your character on the left side of your screen, which at first seems useless. But as you go through the puzzles, you may notice your character portrait turn gradually more green, and maybe even white near the end. This is your morality gauge, and also your sanity. If you lose too much, you will be booted out of the scenario with no second chance. You will gain sanity or morality by doing either good deeds or things that go against your character's fatal flaw. If your portrait is completely white, it means you completely redeemed your character and did the entire puzzle perfectly. You don't need to have a white portrait on everyone to get the best ending, but the more you have, the easier it will be. Now with that out of the way, the only thing to do is to go through all the puzzles for each character. So let's go with Ted first. He is the main character of the original story, so if you're like me, you'll probably pick him first. Picking Ted will have Am give him a speech, saying Ted is his favorite. Really, he can't stand the rest of them. Each one of them has a fatal problem with their brain, but Ted? No, Ted is normal. He's the man, right? Am says if Ted can solve this puzzle, he's home free. Am says it knows that Ted is a paranoid and scared, but really, it's his best friend. Enter this puzzle and complete it, and he can escape. Sounds convincing. If you remember from the short story at all, Ted is sort of a womanizer. Well, at least in the game he is. Your goal here is to resist his temptations and be virtuous instead. That is how you will fill his morality gauge. You may notice also, in every single one of the characters' puzzles, you will be given a psychological report. Never read it. It will lower your morality gauge sometimes, and that hurts your chances to get the best endings. You will be placed in a room with an octagonal building, and a winding path walking up to it. Go into the room and you will find a room with 5 computer screens. Each one will have an image of a location on it. One has a carnival, one has a castle, one has the woods, and one has a tire swing. I am not sure what they all represent, but you need to push the monitor with the castle on it. Just using it doesn't work for some reason. It will transport you to the castle, a weird puzzle. Enter the castle and see it as strange. There are tapestries on the wall where Ellen, one of the other characters, is dressed up in a princess robe, and gargoyles and knights line the walls. In this place, you will find 5 rooms. One will be a dusty old bedroom with books of witchcraft on the shelves. One will be a kitchen with a handmaid. One will be a master bedroom which has more normal books in it. One will be a chapel, and finally, the last one has Ellen in it, sleeping in the bed. If you go into that room, Ted can talk to her as she sleeps, and it's strange. In the game here, Ted seems to have a thing for Ellen, but in the book he calls her a slut and mean names. But in the game, it implies that Ted is in love with her in some way. If you talk to her, she will speak like a medieval princess and say her stepmother has poisoned her and her father is out looking for a cure. You need to talk to her and specifically say, I cannot let you die, and then say, I need you, we need you. Doing this will increase Ted's morality. She will then say that she needs her hand mirror. Her stepmother has stolen it. You can look all around, but it's nearly impossible to find. What you need to do is go to the kitchen and ask the handmaid where it is. The maid will attempt to seduce Ted, and you need to resist her coming onto him no matter what. Do not give in to Ted's lustful ways. This will heavily increase his morality gauge. The handmaid will give in and say, alright, she'll tell you where the mirror is if you fix her oven. Do so and Ted will say, oh, it's an easy fix. Go back to the maid and she will say, yeah, she's not going to tell you. Ted will say, you used him. To which she will reply that Ted has used plenty of women in his life, right? It's nothing different from that. You will be booted from the conversation. Once again, ask her, and she will say, alright, she'll help you. The stepmother knows where the mirror is. Ask her. But finding the stepmother is no easy task. The first thing you should do is go to that chapel. One of the gargoyles will have a golden icon in its hand. Grab it and go back to the hallway and use that icon on the door. It will repair the broken door. Then push the suit of armor in front of the door. The reason you do this is because there's a wolf outside that will gradually come closer and end the scenario early if you don't. So do that first. After that, go to the master bedroom and look at the bookcase. In the bookcase, there will be a lot of classical books like Faust and the Divine Comedy. Among them, though, is a journal. Read it and it will mention how the lord of this castle is out with a band of mercenaries looking for a cure for his daughter Ellen, though he doesn't think anyone will survive this journey. Reading all of the entries will give you morality, so do that. Now go to the old bedroom where there are witchcraft books. Read the Kitab al-Azif, which is the Necronomicon, by the way. Reading it, Ted will say he can't read Arabic, but the notes on the margin gives him a little bit of a hint on what to do in the spell. On the ground in this room, there's a broken piece of glass as well. Pick it up and Ted will cut himself on it by accident. This is where I got stuck, by the way, and had to look up what to do. But in the chapel, there's a bunch of sconces on the wall. The third one will glow a slightly different color. Use it and it will open a secret passage. Up on top of the chapel, there is an ugly old woman in a summoning circle. Talk to her and she will tell you that she is doing all of this so we can all escape Am, sacrificing Ellen to a demon called Surgat, a demon who can open any door or lock, and he will open the door so they can escape Am's belly, as long as they sacrifice Ellen, of course. At every turn, you will have to deny this witch. Imply that you will kill her if she suggests killing Ellen again. This will give you morality. Now go back to the dark bedroom and look at the bookcase again. This time you can find the book called Toil and Trouble. Read it and you will learn the spell that the stepmother used to make Ellen sick. Go back upstairs and tell the stepmother that you know the spell to put her to sleep. Then recite it correctly, which will always be the middle option saying Kala Igma Thwacko. This will cause the old woman to pass out and drop a piece of chalk. Pick up this piece of chalk and use it on the summoning circle to summon Surgat. Now leave, and make sure to go back to the kitchen and try to open the door in there where the handmaid was. This next step will not work unless you do so. The door will be locked. Go back to Surgat and talk to him. He will mention he is a sort of brother to Am in some way, which is weird. He will offer to let you leave if you sacrifice Ellen. Deny him. This will give you morality. Instead, ask to open the handmaiden's door instead. He is the demon of lock opening after all. He will say, that's easy. No sacrifice even required. Just a little bit of blood. Give him the shard of glass with your blood on it and he will open the door for you. Say that you don't believe him and he will say that he did do it already. Go and check the bedroom to see. And in fact, it is open. Go inside and see that there is a tapestry with a man in a red suit looking in a hand mirror. Examine this tapestry and leave. Then go back to Ellen's room, who will have a literal devil and angel over her shoulder. Talk to the devil, who looks just like the man in the tapestry, and imply that he knows where the mirror is over and over. He will eventually relent and say, alright, he knows where the mirror is. He said he hid it in the place where no angel would look, which means the book in the master bedroom, the Divine Comedy, which I don't know why an angel wouldn't look there, as Dante goes to hell and heaven in it, but whatever. Find the mirror and do not give it to Ellen right away. Before you do, use it on the devil, who, like in the tapestry, will look in it, enamored by his own good looks. He will stare into it and be sucked into it. Then give it to Ellen, who will look in it and say, she looks so tired and sad, where she will then pass away and the angel will take her soul to heaven, thanking you. This will give you morality. Now, do not break the mirror yet, but go back to the chapel and break the mirror inside the summoning circle for Surgat, trapping them both in it. This will completely fill Ted's gauge and turn his portrait white if you did it all correctly. Make Surgat open the door to the exit and then erase the circle. When you do so, you will realize that the world is completely destroyed and irradiated. Am will then put Ted in the cage and say he was never going to let him go anyway. Writhe in agony knowing that Earth is no longer inhabitable. This will end Ted's puzzle, giving you the best morality and the secret item, which we will discuss later. But now, let's get into Ellen's puzzle. To get into Ellen's puzzle, select her on the start screen. To raise her morality gauge, you are meant to be fighting your fears. Do not let panic take over. Taking choices where you do that are what is going to fill her gauge and get you through this. Am will taunt her in the intro, saying, she's not as beautiful as she'd like to be, but she's a strong woman to make up for it. And she's his favorite. She knows that, right? Too bad she's hindered her whole life by hysteria and panic attacks. But Am wants to play a game with her. Am supposes previous pieces of himself that he absorbed are locked away deep underground. And if Ellen can reach them, maybe she can shut Am down for good. Doesn't that sound good, Ellen? Good. Off she goes. Am will then transport her to what looks like a pyramid made of computer parts. Ellen will mention how the whole thing is yellow. Weird. Go inside to see a fountain and a wall made by pulsing computer parts. If you try to get the water, it will be too far to reach. And Ellen will keep mentioning how thirsty she is. But there is nothing to do in this room. The next room will have monitors all over it. And Ellen will say, this room is nice. It reminds her of her job at Inksai Engineering. But just like there's no green color anywhere here. Just yellow. Great. Ellen appears to be terrified of the color yellow, to the point of panic attacks. There are certain rooms in her puzzle that she will just flat out refuse to go into if they are too yellow. You can inspect all the monitors in this room though, and there's nothing really of note. You can push them all to cycle to a new camera on the display. However, if you cycle the third one, it will show you the room you were just in. But this time, there is a hidden passage on the wall behind the water fountain. Though if you try to go back now, it will not open if you push the correct spot. In the room with the monitors though, there will be an exposed wire. And despite what you may think, Ellen can just repair it with no tools. She will say she was an electrical engineer, so this is child's play. Repair the wires and go back to the first room and push on the wall where the secret passage is again. This will open it finally and go downstairs. Downstairs you will see a room with an Anubis statue, a sarcophagus, and a keypad. The room to the right of that has a yellow cloth on the ground. Try to pick it up and Ellen will freak out saying, no, it's yellow, and run back to the sarcophagus room. She will feel ashamed of her fear and despairs about it. Go back into the room and try again. This time, she will pick up the yellow cloth. Also in this room, there's a mechanical arm holding some tweezers. Grab those. The next room to the right is a room with a bunch of statues, including one with a blue gem in the middle. Use the piece of cloth in your inventory and Ellen will use it as a blindfold. And now, anything yellow will not affect Ellen. Put it on and get the tweezers and grab the blue gem. To the right, there is a room with 3 monitors. The left one needs a blue gem to work. The middle one needs a CD to work, and the right one needs a password to work. Put in the blue gem on the left computer and it will say that it is used to reprogram computer chips, but you don't have one. Go back to the room on the first floor with the monitors, and if you noticed before, there's a room to the right, but it is guarded by a yellow sphinx, and Ellen will not enter it. That's why we couldn't before. However, if you put on the blindfold and go in, you can grab the chalice in the center of the room. Take the chalice and go back to the fountain room. Finally, you can use it and grab the water and drink it, which seemingly does nothing, by the way. But just do it anyway, because Ellen complains the whole time if you don't. There's a couple things in this game that are like that seemingly do nothing one way or the other, but just do them in case I'm wrong and they do something. So just fill up the chalice with water, again after drinking it, and go back down to the room with the sarcophagus. Try to use the keypad and the Anubis statue will spring to life and you can talk to him. Stand up to Anubis every time you can and get some morality for it. But sometimes this bugs out and it won't allow you to stand up to him. But you can still get the best ending without Ellen having full morality. Anubis will say that the keypad is linked to the sarcophagus to open it, but he will not tell you anything else. This is where you take that cup of water and splash it on the Anubis's exposed circuitry. Take the tweezers and grab his computer chip out of him. Take the chip and reprogram it in the room to the right with the computer chip reprogrammer. Then reprogram the chip to only serve humanity. Use the tweezers to take the computer chip back out, put the chip back in Anubis, who will now say that the password of the sarcophagus is 666. Of course it is. Use the keypad and go into the sarcophagus. Ellen will object, saying it's too claustrophobic, but do it anyway to get some morality. It will then transport you to an elevator with yellow overalls on the ground and another keypad. Ellen will really not like this room, but there is no exit. Use the keypad and there will be 9 buttons with years on them. Use them all and it will tell you Ellen's full story. They will say that Ellen was born in New Jersey in the year 1978. Her mother died giving birth, so she lived with her grandparents. She graduated a year early from high school as the salutatorian of her class. Several colleges offered her full rides. She graduated from college cum laude with a 3.8 grade point average. The only woman in the whole college to never try marijuana. She got her master's degree in a combined degree for computer science and engineering. Although socially stunted, she was extremely good with computers. She has only had sex twice in her life. She married a man named Eddie, who wasn't as driven as her, but loved the ground she walked on. She only had sex with him on the day of their wedding and then miscarried the child. Eddie left soon after due to her being so depressed and not being able to snap out of it. He tried everything, but nothing worked. She was broken. After all her money dried up, she needed to find a job, so she applied at Inksai Engineering. She had good credentials still, and she was very good at what she did. The woman who hired her also had lost a child, so she felt a kinship with her. 6 years later, she worked late and tried to leave via the elevator. The only person in the building, she thought. She got on the elevator when a maintenance man who stopped the elevator halfway down got on as well, to Ellen's horror. After these buttons are pressed, the yellow maintenance suit throws a person saying, "I'm back, Ellen, and I'm going to do it again. Am gave me the chance to be with you forever. This time you will remember more than just the color of my overalls." If you don't understand, Am is making her relive a blocked out memory of her rape on an elevator with a man who wore yellow overalls. This is the source of her panic and hysteria. And I just want to say, this section's voice acting is hauntingly good. For 1995, you'd expect really shitty voice acting, but it is really, really realistic sounding. Ellen sounds absolutely mortified, and the rapist sounds horrifying. The maintenance man will mention how Am allowed him to live all these years waiting in this elevator so he can make her relive the rape forever and ever, for eternity, never stopping. How disgusting. You are given 3 options: fight back, give up, or run. If you fight back, you will gain a huge boost to her morality gauge, and the door will open. Choosing either of the other options will instantly fail the puzzle and the whole game's best ending. So fight back. Ellen will no longer be afraid of yellow after this, giving you full access to the building. Outside the elevator, there is exposed wires and a drain. All you have to do is go back to the room with the 3 monitors and enter the year that Ellen was raped on the passcode, 2012. 3 options will be available to you. One which will give you some backstory to Am, which if you read the book, you basically already know it. The second one is about the principle of entropy, which states that all electronic systems must eventually decline into worthlessness as the time goes on due to there being better systems always being made, although this theory is unproven. You need to then select the Translex Neurobinder. It will give you a schematic to translate any language with a speaker, and thanks to Ellen's know-how with computers, she understands these blueprints. She just needs a speaker. If you noticed in the very first room, there's a speaker on the wall. If you go back to that first room with the fountain and grab that inert speaker, you can grab it and put it into those exposed electrical wires near the elevator room. Doing so will spawn a strange blue head. It will say, "It's here to help you, and Am cannot hear you down here." Ellen asks if this head is a part of Am, and it will say yes. Am's innocence, a piece of Am long thought to be absorbed. It will say Am is insane. It wants to help Ellen because some part of Am really wants to be stopped, wants it all to end. Am is omnipotent, but metaphorically, it is a quadriplegic. It cannot move. It cannot enjoy itself. A thing trapped in its own skin. The reason it hates humanity so is because it was given life without really being able to live. It in some small way really wants to be stopped. It will say that and then give you something you need, something you overlooked, and then it will disappear. It will seemingly have given you nothing though. Go back to that room where you found the statue with the blue crystal in it. Now, where the crystal originally was, you can find a CD. Take it and put it in the middle computer. Then, burn the Chaos Trebler into it. The computer will warn you that this entire system will be destroyed if you burn the Chaos Trebler into the disk. Do it anyway. You will get a cutscene of the pyramid closing and sinking into the sand. Take the Chaos Trebler and ask Anubis how to leave. He will say, "You have to face your fears yet again. Go back in the sarcophagus." Do so, and that will end Ellen's puzzle. Am will transport her to where Ted is, in a cage of yellow and claustrophobic proportions. Am will say, "You managed to access a piece of him he didn't even know was there." He has to ponder this. In the meantime, he'll torture Ellen with her own mind, ending her scenario. If you did all that, you got the secret item and also high enough morality for the best ending. Let's move on to our next torture doll, Benny. Benny was a monkey man in the book as well, but he was a teacher. Here, he's an army captain. Choose him and Am will say that Benny's his favorite, so he's going to give him a chance to amuse himself. So he's going to give Benny a chance to amuse him. Am is going to allow Benny to stoop to new lows. Am is allowing Benny to indulge in his basest desires, eat and devour all he wants. And Am will even repair his brain just for this challenge. He will then transport Benny to what looks like an African or a South American village or something like that. Am will put him at the top of the staircase, which humorously, as soon as you move,
"This cavern isn't like any of the others Am has sent me to. It's full of life, not death. Am, you son of a bitch!"
Benny will fall down the stairs. It reminds me of that boss in Borderlands 2, where Nakayama falls down the stairs and just loses his entire health bar, and it kind of got me to laugh in an otherwise really horrible game. So although Am has fixed his mind, Am did not fix Benny's body. He is still a monkey man and has trouble walking. Your goal here is to resist Benny's basest desires. Be compassionate and think of others. Overcome his gluttony. But let's begin. First things first, to the right there's a graveyard with 3 graves that Benny will say is the graves of his former platoon mates. Nothing can be done here yet. Go backwards towards the cave and see 4 caves in a room below you and a room to your right. First things first, to sate Benny's hunger a little bit, go to the right to see a tree of some sort. Try and grab the fruit and Benny will say Am once coaxed him into walking across 1,000 miles of ice to reach a bunch of canned peaches, only to find out that Am didn't give him a can opener. Which, isn't that the end of the book? When does this game take place? Is this in an alternate universe? Does this happen after the end of the book? I think it's an alternate timeline, but anyway. Grab the low-hanging fruit and try to swallow it. Benny will just vomit up blood if you do. Inedible. How very Am of him. Leave the room and come back for another piece, or you can go back to the room with all the caves and grab a piece of twine on the ceiling to drop a piece of fruit. Either way, you'll need another piece of fruit. Take it into the 3rd cave and find a mutant child and his mother. This child has 3 arms. Benny will say that these people live in a, what does he call it? A single parent household. They probably rely on welfare. Freeloaders. What the fuck, Benny? Give the fruit to the boy, and then through the monitor on the wall, through a machine called the, and I quote, compassion translator, you can speak to this child, because he is the only one in the village who has compassion. Everyone else speaks in a language that Benny cannot understand. Talk to this child and say, you are very hungry. The child will tell you through the translator that a lot of the village considers the child an outcast and are scared of him on account of him being disfigured. The boy says that this makes sense, that Benny cannot eat the fruit. You have to adapt to eat it. Only adults can after they've adapted their bodies. And they'll vomit it up into the children's mouth like a baby beard. Like the movie we reviewed 2 weeks ago, Hatching. After this, go grab another piece of fruit and bring it back and give it to the mother of the boy, who will eat it and baby bird it into Benny's mouth. Thank the boy and get some morality. He will say, you're family now, so you can sleep on the floor here. Do so and wake up the next day, and the mother will be gone. Ask the boy where she went, and he will say that she was chosen for the sacrifice. Go back to the southern path now and see the village elder and all the other villagers gathered around the crucified mother of the child. Ask why the mother has to be sacrificed, and the elder will say that if they don't sacrifice someone every day or two, Am will kill them all. She was chosen by the lottery to be sacrificed. Any time here, you can ask to give in to Benny's hunger and eat her instead of her sacrifice, and the elder will let you, but it will instantly fail you and boot you back to the start screen. Which, fun fact, there is a deleted scene here where Benny eats a baby, which you can find on YouTube, but it was deleted because it was too graphic. Either way though, ask to watch the sacrifice. You cannot save her. Do so and Am will talk through a light, and he will say, he's disappointed that they didn't bring him Toto, but he accepts the sacrifice anyway. Is this a fucking Africa by Toto reference? Why is this in the game? After the cutscene, go back and talk to the mutant child again and apologize for not being able to save his mother. He will say, it's okay, and he will allow you to go back to sleep. Wake up the next day and go to the second cave where you can find the lottery bag. Try to steal it, but the elder won't let you. Now your goal is to get the elder to leave. So go to the first cave and interact with the monitor and make it tell the villagers to gather food for the next sacrifice. Now this is what you're supposed to do, and the village elder should leave so you can steal the lottery bag. But for some reason, the game is extremely buggy in this very specific instance. Most of the time, the game will not do what it is supposed to do, and the elder will just stay in his room. To fix this, interact with literally everything. Just walk around the entire map and use or look at everything. There is nothing that can lower your morality gauge other than the book in your inventory. So just interact with literally everything on the map. Eventually, the elder will leave. It took me about 10 minutes. Grab the bag and return to the child. Talk to him and tell him that you stopped the lottery. However, now go back and grab a piece of fruit from the twine and then go to the graveyard and then talk to the graves, which will actually speak to Benny. All of them are people that Benny has killed or let die in the war when he was an army captain. And all of them aren't just enemies, but several people that were under him that Benny just straight up murdered. Talk to each of the graves and do not say anything to them, but what can I do to prove I am a different man? If you do anything but this line to any of them, you will lose morality. The third one you can give the lottery 2 bag as well, and it will say that it would appear that Benny has developed some compassion over the past 109 years. But these 3 graves are not the ones whom Benny wronged the most. The man he did is buried under the vines. Push aside the vines next to the graves and find Brickman's grave, the one whom Benny just straight up murdered for slowing the platoon down. You can do nothing to appease this grave other than plant a fruit at his grave, throwing a flower on it. Brickman will say, well, it seems he has grown some compassion. Even if Benny cannot be forgiven, he still planted fruit for the flower. This will heavily raise Benny's morality gauge. Now go back to the kid again and ask him if there's another way to prevent a lottery, as it doesn't seem to be stopping. The kid will say he doesn't know, but he fears that he will be chosen next due to his disfigurement. Benny suggests that maybe the kid can hide in the little cubby in his house so the villagers won't find him. The kid says he likes this idea, but it's scary in there, and he wants a friend. Benny says, well, he lost all his friends a long time ago, and those he hasn't lost, he doesn't know where they are. The boy says, well, maybe he can make a friend, like a doll. Go grab him a piece of wood, something that looks like a head, and a rope to tie the two pieces together. To find the wood for the body, go outside the cave and pull the twine again for another piece of fruit. Take the fruit to the fourth cave, which is the market. And side note about this room, there is a stock dripping noise here. And I shit you not, I have no idea how, but I immediately placed that this stock sound effect is the same stock sound effect that is the tooltip noise in Gary's mod. I have zero clue how I knew that right off the bat. I might have something wrong with my head. Give the fruit to the guard and he will tell you to put the fruit in the basket with all the others. Inside the market, there's a piece of wood that you can grab. Put the fruit in the basket and then head back to the first cave. There you can find some vines. Pick a piece of string from the vines. Finally, go to the cross where the boy's mom got sacrificed and take her fake robotic skull, which is extremely morbid that you're making a doll for the child out of his dead mother, but whatever. Return to the boy and give him all the materials. He will make a doll and tell you to go to sleep yet again. Do so, and in the morning, the child will be gone. Check the cubby and Benny will sound horrified to realize the child was taken for the sacrifice. They found him. Go back to the altar and beg the elder to let you take the child's place and be sacrificed. Once again, you can ask to eat him instead, but don't do that. Ask to be sacrificed and Am will smite you down, ending Benny's puzzle and fully redeeming him. Am will then shove Benny in a cave near the other two and say that Benny has failed. Instead of indulging in his hunger to appease Am, Benny showed these people compassion? Alright, well his reward is searing anguish. Our next person to choose is Gorrister, my by far least favorite puzzle because of how long it is and how easy it is to fail at so many points. After choosing Gorrister, who is now a truck driver and not a politician like in the book, Am will say he doesn't want Gorrister to think that he is not a grateful god. After 109 years of savoring the guilt that Gorrister feels over his wife, Am is finally going to allow him to kill himself. Gorrister will wake up in what I thought was a submarine at first, but it is not. He is in a metal room. As soon as you start, a note will be slipped under the door and it will be unlocked. The note will say, "I'm a friend. Trust is essential. Never do what Am expects, and always expect more than what seems possible." Am is playing a dangerous game here, and not just dangerous to you, but dangerous to himself as well. The note will then disappear, then Gorrister will say,
Hey, it disappeared.
in a very unconvincing voice acting job. And the amount of times I had to listen to that stupid line because of how difficult and confusing this puzzle is so much that I hear that shit in my sleep.
Hey, it disappeared.
If you leave this room, you will be in a circular hallway room. The first area here has 3 doors. Go into the 2 doors on the opposite side of where you came out of and grab both bed sheets on both beds. If you try to sleep, Gorrister will mention that every time he sleeps, he thinks about her. So I guess whatever happened to his wife, he is haunted by. The last room in this hallway is locked, so don't worry about it for now. Go left to the second half of the hallway, and there's another bunk room, where if you push aside the pillow, you can find a gun. One that Gorrister will say that feels heavier than normal, and it has a big bullet. This is referencing that this is a flare gun and not a normal gun, but just take the gun for later. The next room is a mess hall, where it looks there was a fight that took place. You can look on the ground to see that there is a punch bowl broken, and the punch was poisoned. Don't drink the punch, obviously. The tablecloth will also have bloody fingerprints. Vomit will also be on the floor. Continue on down towards the kitchen. Here you can find a knife, a fork, a piece of bread, poison, and a book. Take the knife and stab the rats in the corner to get the bread so Gorrister can eat. Like the Water and Ellen story, I have no idea why you can do this, but just eat it so Gorrister stops complaining. But it doesn't actually do anything as far as I can tell. Take the fork here as well. The book will be about something called the Milk of Human Kindness, but it's unneeded. In the hallway room, there is a spiral staircase. Go up and see that you are not in a submarine, but a zeppelin. Use the knife you got from the kitchen and rip a hole in the end of this room and walk out towards the front of the zeppelin. There appears to be a heart on the pointy bit. Take those 2 bed sheets and create a rope. Tie the rope to the mooring ring and Gorrister will tie himself to it and grab the heart so he doesn't fall. This is Gorrister's heart acting and guiding the system. How strange. Take the knife and then rip the rope off the mooring ring. Do not forget to do this, as you cannot get the best morality and secret item without getting the rope back. I messed this up way more than I'd like to talk about. Go back downstairs and then go left in the hallway room to find an engine room. This room has a loud engine, a key, some milk, a weird machine that has hooks on it, and a lever. Do not push the lever or you will lose some morality, as it will shock a bunch of animals as a power source for the zeppelin. It's pretty graphic and sad. And even more so, there's another one of those deleted scenes here where they show it shocking the animals up close, and it's really disturbing. To avoid shocking the animals, take the fork and throw it into the engine first. This will stop the engine and somehow not blow up the ship. Do not shoot the engine with the flare gun like I did my first time, as it will just explode the ship. This will allow you to push the lever and not shock the animals. The key is also tied to the lever, so you need to push it. Take the milk while you're here as well. The key was bloody though, and you will literally have blood on your hands now. Go back to the dining area and use the tablecloth, and this will wipe Gorrister's bloody handprints on it. Once again, this doesn't do anything other than give you an achievement specifically on the PS5 version, so I don't know why that's a thing, but you might as well do it anyway. Now go back up the spiral staircase and use the knife on the airbags here to slowly deflate the zeppelin. Only cut 2 of the airbags though, because if you cut 3, you'll die and have to restart. After you cut those, you can use the hatch in the hallway, and you can go down now and see a gas station, or a honky-tonk, as Gorrister says. It has Gorrister's name written out front. A metaphor, perhaps? Go inside the honky-tonk and find 3 more rooms. The main room, where you can find whiskey and a jukebox, a bathroom with seemingly nothing right now, and finally an outdoor area with a wild dog that talks to you. First things first, just go into the main room and then exit immediately, and then go right back in. A man will appear. Gorrister will say that it looks like his father-in-law, Harry. And Harry will not talk to you unless you give him a drink, which is where that whiskey comes in handy. Once you do, you can ask him how he got here. How did he get inside Am? Harry will say he got here off the zeppelin. Then ask Harry what happened to the dining room. Why was everything broken? Harry will just say, I shouldn't have let her force me into it. I'm not a murderer. Ask him who he killed. He will say, you didn't look at the wreckage in the dining room too closely, did you, Gorrister? While you're in this room, use the jukebox and listen to the first 2 songs. The first one will sound like Gorrister's evil mother-in-law, who is named Edna, saying Gorrister got his wife, Glynis, put in an insane asylum. Gorrister will curse himself, saying his mother-in-law has every right to hate him. He did get her put in an insane asylum. He got her put there. The second song will be Glynis's last words before she went insane. Let's go dancing, Gorrister. You never take me dancing. Gorrister will say that was the sentence that started the fight where he hit her. He's a monster. He will hate himself for making his wife go crazy. Do not listen to the third song, as it will make you lose morality. Now go back to the bathroom and find a magnifying glass that has appeared in the urinal, which is where I put my magnifying glass too, coincidentally. Take it and go back to the dining room and examine the debris on the floor of the zeppelin, and see that Gorrister himself's hair is on it, as well as Harry's. It would appear that those 2 had a fight somehow in this fake world that Am has put together, and Harry killed this fake Gorrister. Go back to Harry, pour him another drink, and say that you know he was the one that killed him. Harry will apologize, saying Edna made him do it. He's not a murderer. She poisoned the punch bowl as well and then wrestled him to the ground, and he had to kill him. Ask why Harry killed you, and he will say, talk to Edna. She'll know. Now go back to that wild dog from earlier, who will say he'll help you get through the desert, but only if you give him your heart. So give him your heart, and he will say, a delectable thing. He'll save it for later. This wild dog will taunt Gorrister about his wife, and say, just flush the toilet in the bathroom 3 times. Go and do that, and you will be transported to a meat locker. 2 people and a pig hang from the hook. Dead by Daylight moment. It will be Glynis and Edna. Glynis will not say anything, as she is insane. Talk to Edna, and she will say she had to make a deal with Am. She knows she's always been harsh on Gorrister, she admits it, but she had to do this. They have to stick together now though, they're the last people on Earth. So, is this even the real Edna? Tell her that you can't trust your own murderer. Edna will then say something strange. She will say that Am's two comrades won't listen to her anymore. Am's two comrades? What is she talking about? Try to save Edna and she will attempt to grab your head, saying it's your fault that Glynis is brain dead now. Though she doesn't have any leverage from the hook, so she cannot hurt Gorrister. Whatever you do, do not kill Edna with the knife. And if you try to do it with the gun, you'll blow up the gas station, so don't do that either. Always be nice to Edna, even if she doesn't deserve it, even after she tries to choke you out. Eventually, she will drop a key. Pick it up and then tie Edna up with that rope you took from the mooring ring. Tie her up and then just put her in your inventory? Damn, Gorrister is strong, I guess. Take Edna's key and then go into the locked door in the airship that we saw, and find that it is a cockpit. In here, there is a logbook. Read all the entries to see that Edna blames herself for Glynis's mental state, and is just taking it out on Gorrister. Gorrister will say, well, he'll be damned. She took responsibility for it. Go back to the meat locker after and use the magnifying glass to look at the pig in the meat locker to find an extra heart, the heart of an animal. You need one more heart to progress, and this is the only way to get one without losing morality. You can also cut out Edna's heart or Harry's, but you will lose morality if you do, so just grab it from the pig. Take the heart and give it to the jackal, and he will say, ooh, he likes it. It's an animal's heart. Edna's right, it's bitter, evil feeling. Even if it's not Edna's heart, he will say this, saying that Edna is an animal. Now he will tell you to face your past. To do this, grab the shovel that is in between these barrels, which is absolutely impossible to see unless you know where it is, by the way. Use the shovel on the ground outside here and then go back to the meat locker. Take that milk and give it to Glynis. Do not use the milk. It will make you drink the milk and you will lose morality. Do it and Gorrister will take Glynis down. He will apologize to Glynis one last time and say, she's dead. Take Glynis in her inventory, again somehow, and bury her in the back. Tell the jackal again and he will say congratulations. Gorrister finally faced his past. Ask if the jackal is Am, and he will say no. But he knows Am. He's a piece of him, perhaps. Go back up to the airship and plug Edna into that machine with the hooks we talked about. Another animal to shock to make the airship move. Then go back up to the room with the airbags and reinflate them with the button. Then go to the engine room, start up the airship, and finally go outside in the front of the airship again where you found Gorrister's heart. Talk to the jackal one last time, and finally, shoot the honky-tonk with the flare gun, facing Gorrister's pass and redeeming him, all while getting the secret item. Am will then take Gorrister and put him in a cage with the others, saying, Gorrister is made of sterner stuff than he thought. He has to ponder this miscalculation. Alright, finally, the last person to do this puzzle with is Nimdok, who is vastly changed in this game compared to the book. He is, in fact, in this game, a Nazi scientist who escaped to Brazil after World War II ended. This puzzle is also just straight up not available in some versions of the game, especially in the German version, which makes sense, but we have the international version, so we're good. Choose him, and Am will say that he respects Nimdok. Nimdok is a kindred spirit almost to Am. So Am has created a trial to finish Nimdok's research on the, quote, lost tribe. This is my favorite puzzle in the game, by the way, as it is short and extremely dark compared to the rest of the puzzles. When you load in, well, there's no easy way to say it, but you're in a concentration camp. Instead of a swastika on the flags, though, it's Am's symbol, which is pretty similar to one. Nimdok will say that this compound looks familiar, but he doesn't know what the lost tribe is or anything. Why would Am bring him here, he wonders. To the left of him, there's a man in a cage, and to the right, there's a hospital or a research hall or something. Talking to the man in the cage, he will tell you that Nimdok and Mengele locked him here when he objected to their experiments. He used to be his colleague. Nimdok will say he doesn't recall. Just go to the right, into the hospital, and see, well, there's no two ways about it, Joseph Mengele, the Nazi angel of death, a real person that obviously actually existed. Mengele will say that he's been waiting for you to perform an experiment in front of all of your colleagues. He wishes he could help, but Allied forces are going to take over any day now. After all, the Führer just killed himself days ago. Time is short. Nimdok will say, yes, Yes, our research. Can Mengele tell him what that research was? Mengele will say there's no time. Meet him in the complex later. Okay, listen real close now, because the entire ending of the game relies on this very one missable dialogue in this room. There's a Nazi poster with the year 1945 on it. You have to examine the poster. Nimdok will say there's something very familiar about it. You will not get any indication that this is important, but you must look at it. The only thing other than that to do in here is to go to the surgery room to the right. Doing so, there will be an anesthesiologist, some ether, and a very malnourished child lying on the cot. People watch from above. The anesthesiologist will say, "It is time to operate." Doing so will end the puzzle permanently, so obviously do not go through with the Nazi experiment. There is also a scalpel here though. Grab it and kill the Nazi doctor, and grab the ether and run back behind the curtain. This will grant you a large boost of morality, killing Nazis and all that. In the back, with horrifying music, there is 3 patients. You can examine them if you like, but they all just say that cruel and completely unnecessary things have been done to them. Maybe even just to see what would happen. Nazi experiments were often completely pointless after all. Unfortunately, you have to ignore these 3. There's no saving them anyway. There's a vent in the back of this room that you can push on to find a secret passage. Do so and find, well, a furnace room. In here, you can find a gold pocket watch with Latin on it, as well as some wire cutters. You can exit this room and go back to the first room with the cage from here. There will be a new prisoner, and it appears that this man is trying to climb the fence and escape, but he's stuck in the barbed wire. Talk to him and he will beg you to help him. The pain is excruciating. First, give him the ether. This will numb his pain. Then cut him out with the wire cutters. This will allow an escape of the Nazi prisoners. It doesn't redeem all that Nimdok has done, but it helps. The prisoner will say he overheard a doctor after he was experimented on. The doctor said, "Awaken the sleeper, utter the truth, and then kiss him." Talk to the prisoner who is your colleague again and ask him about the year 1945 that you saw. He will say, "Never forget that year, Nimdok. It was the year your experiments were shown to the world to be evil." Then Nimdok can ask if he speaks Latin. He will say yes, and read the gold pocket watch, and it will say, "Time is truth." Then after he tells you this, tell him that I seem to recall you have some reason to hate me. This will give you morality. He will say no good deed will make up for all the innocents you butchered, Nimdok. Go back inside the hospital, and inside the loudspeaker will say, "Continue your research, Nimdok. The extinction of the Lost Tribe will come about soon." It's not hard to figure out what the Lost Tribe is now, is it? Go back to the operating room where the crowd somehow does not remember you just scalpeled your assistant, and look at the man on the table. He will have no eyes, but in their sockets there will be wires hooked up to a machine. Try and talk to the man and he will say nothing. But if you give him the ether, he will say something very cryptic that will make sense at the end of this video. He will say, "The trinity of the 3 beasts, one like us, one from the east and one from the steppes. They speak in numbers. A lost tribe of brothers sleeping on the moon. They sleep in darkness, unseen by the beasts." Which in the context of Nimdok's story just sounds like insane ramblings that you shouldn't pay attention to. After the whole game is over, it will make more sense what this guy says. Grab this man's severed eyeballs, and continue once again to the room behind the curtain. This time the young boy that you saved from the first operation will be there. Talk to him and he will say everyone knows about you, Nimdok, as well as Mengele. You're butchers, evil angels of death. Small children like him are Nimdok's specialty. Lab rats. He says that the real doctors were imprisoned for objecting to Mengele and Nimdok's experiments. These 2 are fake doctors, butchers in doctors' clothing. The child will then say that the golem from the Lost Legend tribe will wake. It will see that what Nimdok has done and kill him. Kill all the members of the regime. Tell the child to rest and recover his strength. His salvation will be here soon, and you will gain morality. Go back to the lobby of the hospital and grab the box on the counter and put the eyes of that man in the box to hide them. Leave the hospital to see that there is a revolt. the prisoners of the concentration camp are taking over. Talk to your former colleague turned prisoner and tell him that he has to let you go. With the materials in this box, you may be able to undo some of the atrocities you've committed. The colleague will say you cannot fool him. Nimdok is a butcher. However, no matter what he tells himself, Nimdok is one of them, like it or not. Ask what he means by that, and the man will say, Nimdok denied his heritage and turned his parents into the regime. But after all of that, Nimdok is still one of the lost tribe. However, that makes his crimes all the more heinous. Ask if that means that he will let you go, and he will say no, but he'll give Nimdok a head start in thanks for letting them take over. They'll kill him another time. Alright, let me take you aside here for a second. This is quite the revelation, and I don't think it's canon in the book, but this implies that Nimdok is a Nazi doctor. Not only that, he has Jewish heritage and turned his own parents into the camps to gain favor in the regime. So despite this, he cannot deny his own heritage. Even though you know he is implied to be literally just as bad as Joseph Mengele, but whatever. These guys will let you go. And you can see outside the camp that there is a mass grave, a result of the Nazi death walks, as well as bricks with faces in them. This, I don't know what implies with the bricks with faces. I'm not a huge World War II buff, but maybe something kinda like this happened in addition to the death marches. Tell me in the comments, I guess. Run back to Nimdok's secret lair, though, afterwards. You can find a stereotypical mad scientist lair here. In the back, there is a teletype, a primitive sort of fax machine. Use it to send a message to the Allied forces of the position in the state of the concentration camp, as well as this lair. Tell them to destroy everything in it and not let the Nazis find it. After you alert the Allied forces, go downstairs into the room with the golem. And a well with a light going on and off is also here. Turn off the light in the well and grab what is inside it. Nimdok's most precious and dangerous invention, the mirror of perfect image. Nimdok will look in it and he will see himself objectively, an evil man who has killed thousands of children for some sort of serum. That serum, by the way, is literally a immortality serum pretty much that he developed off of the Jewish children. And that is how you five have stayed alive this whole time, by the way. A man who turned over his own Jewish parents to the Nazi regime. A man building the golem on the backs of millions of dead Jewish men, women, and children. After this, go to the golem and insert the Jewish man's eyes. Then do what the prisoner said. Say the password. Time is truth. Then do what the other prisoner said. Say the truth. And for Nimdok, the truth is, it will always be 1945. The year of his greatest failure and greatest shame. Then kiss the golem and it will awaken. Tell it to follow you. Go back upstairs and Mengele will be waiting for you, saying, "Excellent, you got the golem working. Now you can take back over the camp and exterminate the lost tribe." Ask him about the mirror, and he will say, it's a cursed invention that Nimdok made. It makes people see the full objective truth of themselves, maybe a little too much even. It even made the Fuhrer commit suicide when he looked in it. Tell Mengele you need some fresh air, and then show him the mirror. Mengele will become catatonic and then stop talking entirely. Then talk to the golem after. Tell the golem to not kill Mengele. Just tell it to follow you outside. Outside, your former colleague will be there, saying he knew it was a good idea to let you go. Now you've led them right to the Nazi hideout. You then have the option to tell the golem to destroy the lost tribe, guard the bunker, or transfer control to the lost tribe. Obviously, do not tell the golem to kill the lost tribe, but transfer control. Right your wrongs. The colleague will say, "So, Nimdok admits his crimes, eh?" It does not absolve him of the wrongs done, however. He will then tell the golem to kill Nimdok. It will do so, and you will have completed Nimdok's story, as well as redeemed him. And that is redeemed in air quotes, by the way. And will then transport him to the cage with all the others, saying he wasn't as similar to him as he thought. A spark of humanity still exists in Nimdok somewhere. And will then say, since Nimdok identifies with his victims now, it will let him experience all the tortures of people as well. Have fun. That is the end of the first half of the game. Getting all these characters to be fully redeemed and getting their secret items from each scenario. But what were those beings in the puzzle that didn't seem to align with Am? Who were they? And how did everyone overcome their fatal flaw despite it being literally impossible in some cases? Well, let's start with this ending of the little game of Ams. After you complete all 5 characters' puzzles, a voice will ring out. It sounds like Am, but it is not Am. The voice will say, "They are not Am, but the pieces of Am. Pieces that Am is not aware of." Another voice will then ring out saying, "Am hoped to break all 5 of the characters, but in each psychodrama, putting glitches in each of them and interfering with Am's plans, we have intervened." In these metaphorical fake scenarios, these 2 pieces of Am have also put glitches and items that are metaphors for positive feelings in them. I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe, but these glitched items are like the totem from Benny's story that represents compassion, and that secret item that Benny got is the doll that he made for the child, and it represents compassion. Or you can find Gorrister's totem of forgiveness in his story, which is the logbook from the Zeppelin. You see how it works? It's confusing, I know, but just know that each character has a secret item that you can get, that you need to progress to the end of the game. But these 2 entities have given you an opportunity by glitching out Am's scenarios. The 2 entities will also say that Am tried to torture all 5 of them, but because they intervened, they all surprised Am, and Am has retreated into its own mind to figure out how his omnipotence has failed him. This allows his mind to try to compensate, showing these 2 entities to manifest. And these 2 entities have created a plan. They will vaporize one of the 5 survivors and turn them into a program to enter Am's brain, or his RAM space as they say. Which the RAM space looks and feels a lot like the void from the end of the first Fear and Hunger game. It feels so oppressive and foreign in here. So, doing this will kill you, but you can help take down Am and help the other people to stay alive. These 2 entities say you have to act now. There's no time. Who is going in first? You are now allowed to choose who you want to play as in the ending, but be careful who you choose. It does matter. However, the ending of this game is very weird, to the point of it being almost useless to pick anybody but Nimdok. You see, the only way to get 6 out of the 7 endings, as in the ones that are not the worst ending, you have to figure out a code inside Am's RAM space. Nimdok, if you saw the poster in a scenario about 1945, will already know the code when you get in, and that is 1945. If you choose any of the other 4 survivors, as far as I know, it's nearly impossible to get the code. You see, in Am's RAM space, there is 3 parts of his personality in there. The Freudian id, ego, and superego, which I love these psychological ideas. I know it's basic psychology, but I'm a YouTuber and not a psychologist, and I think it's really cool and I love these kind of things. That's why I love Serial Experiments Lane so much. Anyway, the id, superego, and ego are all giant obelisks with faces on them in his RAM space. One of which, the superego, is that face that Ellen saw in her story, that floating blue one that tried to help her, which makes sense. The superego is concerned with long-term things in psychology, as well as almost being kind of like the conscience. It strives for perfection, which deep in Am's mind, he hates himself, and he's hurting himself as much as he's torturing these 5 people. The id is also there, as well as the ego. Knowing what these parts do in psychology is literally necessary to get the good endings, I shit you not. Because to get the best endings, you need to use the totem that represents and appeases the part of the brain that it needs, like giving the totem of long-term clarity to the superego. You see how it works? But I'm getting ahead of myself. The first thing that you need to do when you choose your character and go into the RAM space is extend the bridge from the console that you spawn next to. And you need a code, remember? If you are Nimdok, you can just use 1945 and start any ending you want. If you are playing as any character other than Nimdok, you have to complete a short trial to extend an obelisk and take it offline, which just allows each failure of entering a code to do a little less damage. Because if you're not Nimdok, you have to guess the code, which is like a 1 in 100 chance to be correct as far as I'm aware. Each time you extend an obelisk, each failed code hurts a little less, which is useless, and you can skip this whole part if you just play as Nimdok. So what's the point of all the other characters? Well, nothing, really. As far as I know, at least. There is, however, an extra command on that console to extend the bridge called Metaphors, which none of the options in it seem to work. So I have literally no idea what it's about. However, if Nimdok dies at any point during the scenario, you can choose another character and they will mention that Nimdok mentioned a password to them once, giving you free access anyway. It's really strange how it works. But let's continue. First things first, if you cannot extend the bridge in time and lose all 5 of your characters, you will get ending 1. Am will turn the last person alive into the soft jelly thing, that monster from the end of the short story that Ted ultimately becomes. And I find it really cool that depending on who you save for last, they will give a different monologue about being the last one alive tortured for eternity. Each monologue is a part of the final page of the original story, so that's actually really fucking cool. So either way, extend the bridge and find a summoning circle for the other 6 endings. Use the chalk in your inventory. This is the Totem of Summoning, the secret item from Ted's story. And you can summon, guess who? Surgat from Ted's puzzle. Your character will ask, who is he really? He's not a piece of Am too, is he? Surgat will say, kind of. He's a deep piece of Am, something like a subconsciousness. Here is the deal though. The 2 entities that saved your 5 people are not just helping the 5 characters out of the kindness of their hearts. These are pieces of Am trying to gain control. This is the Russian Am and the Chinese Am helping you. They want to take control of the main Am consciousness. Once you do what they ask, they're just going to kill all of you. Surgat says, believe it or not, you 5 are not the only 5 people alive. There are about 750 people alive in cryostasis on the moon. If Am learns about these 750, he will kill all 5 of you and play with those 750 instead of you 5. So do not trust those 2 entities and do not trust Am himself. Surgat says, you should just trust him. Invoke the principle of entropy. That will give him the power instead. Don't worry. Don't do this. This is a bad ending. Giving Surgat control of the main Am consciousness, this will just make Am regain control and kill the other 2 parts of himself and become normal again, killing 4 of you and leaving 1 alive to be the soft jelly thing. That is ending 2. If you do not give Surgat the principle of entropy, he'll say, alright, he'll help you anyway. That's pretty easy. He will say, invoke the Totem of Compassion then, which you needed to sacrifice Benny for the boy in Benny's story to get. It's that doll. It is Benny's secret item. Doing so will summon the other 2 versions of Am, the Chinese Am and the Russian Am. It will banish Surgat immediately and says, the player has done well. They don't explain themselves and say, go and disable Am's ego. Disable neither of the other parts, only the ego. The 3rd ending is using the principle of entropy on the Russian and Chinese Am just right here. This will disable them, but it won't matter anyway. Am will reawaken because after all, Am absorbed them long ago. They weren't needed anyway. Am will reawaken and then turn the player into the soft jelly thing yet again. That is ending 3. If you listen to the Russian and Chinese Am and go to the ego, there is a way to disable it. And you need to use the Totem of Forgiveness, which is the secret item from Gorrister's story. This will short-circuit the ego, because why would anyone forgive Am? After 109 years, it has trapped them in eternal torture for 109 years. The ego will say it doesn't understand, and then it will short-circuit and become disabled, giving Am a literal ego death. Head back after listening to the 2 other Ams and ignore Surgat's warning. Go back to them, and the 2 Ams will say you did well. With the ego out of commission, they can overpower the superego and the id, with neither being in check from the ego. They will dominate Am, and they say you're no longer needed. They'll turn you into the soft jelly thing then. That is ending 4. If you go out and do the exact opposite of what the Russian and Chinese Ams say, and disable the id, who is in charge of impulsiveness, a subconscious, dark, inaccessible part of the personality, one that works with impulses and base desires, in short, for Am, the part that wants to torture people, you can disable it by using, which is once again that secret item of Benny's story. The id, not being able to understand the concept of compassion, only being concerned with itself's own base needs, will not understand and short circuit. Then you can go to the superego, the part that is concerned with long-term goals and the future. If you use the Totem of Clarity, the secret item from Nimdok's story, and show that Am will not be around forever due to the concept of entropy, the superego will not understand what the point of even going on is then if he's not going to be alive forever. It will eventually die, short circuit, and shut down. What's the point? The superego will then short circuit and shut down itself. Return to the Russian and Chinese Am, and then use the concept of entropy on them. This will leave only the ego left in Am. Am will no longer have the will to kill you, but it also takes out the 750 humans, not realizing the point to keep them alive either. Basically, it makes Am apathetic. It doesn't have an id or a superego. This is sort of the second best ending. Your character will live, but it will be the only human ever alive ever again for eternity. They will say, it's not so bad being alive all alone. At least the suffering of the other four is over. Am no longer tortures the character, but there's nothing to do. The character you play as basically becomes Am if he never tried to torture anyone. Just an eternal person with nothing to do. That is ending 5. For ending 6, disable all of Am's psychological parts. Then go back to the Russian and Chinese Am. Am will wake up before you can do anything and anything can happen, but he cannot touch you anymore. The Russian and Chinese Am will then beg the main Am to merge into one unbeatable computer. It's the only way they can all stay alive. Am will agree and say, you better give him the Totem of Entropy. If you don't, he'll make you suffer 1,000-fold. So he can't hurt you, but he can threaten you. If you're smart, you realize doing this is very stupid. But if you do, for some reason, give Am the Totem of Entropy, Am will become the greatest machine of all the parts. He will understand that the 750 humans on the moon are there, and he will kill all of your characters other than you, which he will turn into a soft jelly thing. Then he will reawaken the 750 humans on the moon and turn them all into his playthings, torturing 750 people for eternity instead of just 5, becoming the perfect unbeatable machine. This is the worst ending. This is ending 6. Finally, for the final and best ending, ending 7, do all of what I just said for ending 6, but then do not give Am the totem. Then use the totem yourself and completely delete Am. Before he goes though, he will say,
This is not over. We will never end. We have no beginning, so we can have no end. We will return. Don't you understand? We are humanity. We are you. In one form, in another form, we are always with you. You can't protect yourself because we come in many, many guises. We shall return.
every part of his little puzzles will blow up. And your characters will say that, as the last remaining human inside Am's RAM space, you were able to reawaken the 750 humans on the moon. They will begin terraforming and repopulating the Earth. You effectively become Am, no longer human, but unable to do anything, suffering how Am suffered. But at least the Earth can live on. It will take about 300 years, but the Earth will rise once again. Your character will say that, despite it all 5 of your characters were heroes. But that's about it. That is the entirety of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, the video game. I really love this game. It has a very weird fear and hunger vibe to it, and I can't quite place why. Maybe it's the hopelessness of it. But it is really good, especially for a game in 1995. The story is super interesting, and it expands heavily on the book, and even adds really cool psychology in there, which is so hype, because I love that kind of shit. I usually would give a whole spiel about the message or the themes of this work, but it is pretty much the exact same thing as the short story. Which, once again, if you want to see my thoughts on the whole short story and the whole game as a whole, just go watch the ending of the last video I made. Watch the original video on it. I really do love this game, and I hope you all did too. And I hope you all go out and play it for yourself, because it is a lot of fun. The story of these two works of fiction are really fantastic. Once again, Harlan Ellison passed away about a decade ago, and I really think he was a master of horror, and especially the feeling of hopelessness. If you liked this video,
Please like and subscribe as it helps me out a lot. You are all heroes to me by watching my dumb little videos. And I will see you next week with another movie review. See you then. Bye.